All right, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall, and I am your Lower Paxton Township Manager. In typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of this evening's agenda, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home on television, before we begin. This evening is a business session of the board. They have just a very short agenda this evening, to include literally three action items to begin first under subdivision and land development, where the board will take action to approve a declaration of previously subdivided lots. Then after that, the board will take action to approve the improvement guarantees, the payment of township and authority bills, and then finally hear any last announcements before finally making a motion to adjourn. With all that said, members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Thompson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The board did meet in executive session for information from the manager and the assistant manager before, and we will be meeting afterwards for more information. We'll have the approval of the minutes. 10/8/24 was workshop, 10/15/24 budget and business, 11/6/24 budget and business meetings. Do you have any questions? Have you guys read them? Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public comment. Do we have anybody under public comment? Okay. All I ask is that you give us your name and your address, please. And I don't know, Nick, is that turned on? The green light's on? Okay.
I believe it's connected now.
Yep,
so.
You're good.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Nick DeSanto, a resident of Lower Paxton Township over at 6200 Parkway East. I'm here tonight as my capacity as the president of Lincolnstown Fire Company to discuss the continual rumors that are pertaining to the change of facility of our July 3rd annual firework display that we put on for the community. I did not see the matter on the agenda tonight, so I was taking the opportunity to address it here at public comment. If that is incorrect, I will be happy to sit down and address it later. Some history on the fireworks pertaining to this event. On October 19th, 1955, the Lincolnstown Fire Company sold the grounds and building known as Coons Park for a sum of $3,000 in exchange for up to 4 days of exclusive use for carnivals and events such as the fireworks display and other programs. Lincolnstown Fire Company has been doing the display on an annual basis for over 40 years as a closing ceremony to the carnival and a thank you to our numerous donors and constituents who have supported us over that year. In 2003, the Lower Paxton Board of Supervisors approached our executive board to be co-sponsors of the display in which the fire company would contract with, pay for, and schedule the firework display, and the township would reimburse the company 50% of the cost. This relationship worked almost flawlessly for the first 20 years of the agreement. However, in 2023, the exclusivity of use identified in the sales agreement from 1955 was violated by the Parks and Recreation Department with the invitation of food trucks, sporting events, and not closing the park during the setup and duration of the firework event. Then Chief Crump made numerous phone calls for support in securing and shutting down the park to the police department, in which 2 uniformed police officers were sent to assist with that. As many are aware, there was a large skirmish between groups that evening which resulted in several arrests. In 2024, planning was completed with public safety entities to mitigate and reduce this risk. Although significantly reduced, there was still a need for police to intervene in several smaller scale incidents throughout the park. However, all the feedback received by our agency as the host agency was positive in nature and residents felt secure in attendance. At a park and recreation planning meeting in October last year, our fire police heard a concept plan to move the fireworks show from Coons to George Park. Knowing that this had not been discussed with our leadership as the host organization, they notified Chief Sean Harp and myself, who in turn reached out to staff to get an understanding of the discussions that were being had. For 2 months, we were told nothing was changing as this was just a brainstorming statement. During this time, Chief Harp informed Ms. Scott that Lincolnstown Fire Company runs this event. We will continue to do so as long as it's held at Coons Park. On December 17th, Chief Harp received an email from Ms. Scott stating we are still exploring options for relocating the fireworks display at George Park. This is not a firm decision at this time, as we plan to present our findings to the officials in late January. On the same date, I received a copy of an executed contract dated October 17th, 2024 for $10,303 with the Lincolnstown Fire Company's name on it, the firework vendor in Lower Paxton Township. This was received after we clearly stated and informed township staff that we would only do the event if it was held at Coons Park. The date of this contract supersedes any conversations or meetings with the Lincolnstown Fire Company regarding relocation of the venue at our community. Lincolnstown Fire Company does object to a contract being signed by township staff with our name on it as a party to, without disclosing to us and providing to us for review and execution ourselves. I'm not here to argue the fact that the township has the right to enter into such contracts, but without our consent, it appears at a minimum to be improper and lends to the appearance of fraud. On January 14th, I attended a meeting with the Park and Recreation staff pertaining to the matter of staff's desire to move the venue of the annual fireworks display from Coons Park to George Park for 2025. I was advised at the January meeting that the Parks Department would be here tonight to make a formal recommendation to change the venue to George Park against the desire of the host agency, Lincolnstown Fire Company. It was very apparent during this meeting that several planning meetings and discussions were held amongst staff to make this change without our involvement. As a representative of our organization, I voiced strong opposition to the recommendation to move the event to George Park due to the safety concerns of large crowds in a confined facility with one entrance, as well as the negative economic impacts that this would have on the Lincolnstown business community. This event is a marquee event for not only the community of Lincolnstown proper, but the township as a whole. By our estimates of the past several years, this event has drawn a crowd of approximately 5,000 to 8,000, depending on the day in which the event is held, as well as the weather. This does not include the thousands of observers in surrounding neighborhoods such as Blue Meadow Farms, the Fairway Lane, Centennial Acres, Forest Hills, the Blues, and numerous other neighborhoods that surround Lincolnstown. The location in Lincolnstown brings in traffic and customers to the many shops and restaurants within the village and the surrounding commercial districts. Given the terrain and topography of Coons Park, the display can be seen for several miles in either direction. And as stated previously, this event has been executed over 40 times without incident, and we have the utmost faith in our police department to continue to provide the security necessary to host a community event in this township park. By moving this location to a more isolated location, we are not only exponentially raising the risk of attendees within the park if something were to happen, especially due to the single vehicular access point to the park being on Nyes Road. Whereas in years past, we have been able to strategically position apparatus and emergency responders on all four corners with good vehicular access to respond to emergencies within and outside of this township if they were to arise, but this is not possible at George Park. In closing, this event at Lincolnstown Fire Company event that belongs to Lincolnstown, where it has been for the last 4 years. If this event is moved out of our immediate community, the fire company cannot in good faith continue to support such a violation of tradition and trust to the community. We are asking that the board understands the need to keep this premier event at Coons Park and will provide clarity and direction to staff to plan and support this event accordingly. If held at Coons, we will continue to provide the financial and logistical support as we have in many years past. As part of my statement on this matter, I'm providing the board with a letter of support from our sister agency that would be most affected, as well as a copy of the contract that was signed with our name on it by township staff. Appreciate your time and attention to this matter, and if you have any questions for us, we'd be happy to try to answer it. Can you pass it, please?
Thank you.
You brought up something. Could we talk about this check thing? I mean, you said the word fraud. Let's clear this up. Can we clear up this check thing? Because I don't want that word floating out there for too long.
I agree. So from our perspective, we, for the last 20 plus years, have signed the contract and done the deposits on this. We were informed in November, but the contract had already been signed. And then that contract has our name on it. Nobody's talked about it. We were specifically said by Chief Harp that if our name is going to be on that contract, then we need to review it and we need to have a signature so we can agree to all the terms and conditions thereof, as in the years past. So from our perspective, when somebody executes a contract with our name on it without discussion, it, at a minimum, gives an appearance of...
All right. So, Brad, just so everybody knows, we didn't make any decisions, but we knew and we expect, and it is their jobs to always look at public safety and always look at, is this the right thing to do and the right place to do it? That's their job. And everything that happens after that is open to discussion. But that is our expectation of them. This is all coming back to us now for the first time. We have not been talking about this. We've not been deliberating this. So just so you know where we're at in the process. But my expectation is that our public safety director and his people look at things like this, the problems that we've had at Coons. And looking at it is perfectly not only defendable, but I mean, that's expected. Now, as far as this check goes, can you want to explain that, how that happened?
Yeah, sure. So yes, in historically speaking, in years past, the Lincolnstown Fire Company would basically, cut the first check, if you will, and then the township would follow up and ensure that the remainder of the invoice was paid. So the second phase of it, if you will. In this year's case, due to the fact that the township was continuing to be in the process of taking a look at this thing to determine what it was going to do relative to the safety concern issue, where it was going to be held, the township decided to change that course, if you will, and cut the first part of the check on our own, so that we can ensure that the event would go on, whether or not it occurred in Coons Park. What we didn't want to happen was the township ultimately decide to move it to George Park, say, for example, and the township already knowing that Lincolnstown Fire Company was opposed to that and would not provide their portion of the funding. We didn't want to be left then without a contract at all and have no fireworks opportunity before us. So we decided to do the first part of the check, the first part of the invoice, to ensure that the contract exists with the fire company, the fireworks company, and so that's
So
kinda what happened.
Lincolnstown is always listed on the invoice.
So have you always
So
signed the
for-
contract?
For
Nick?
clarity, there's a couple things there. One, the contract has always been held in our name. We were the party to. We executed it, we negotiated it, and the Lower Paxton Township reimbursed us after we paid all costs. They never paid the half of the invoice. So we would, after the show went on, we would submit an invoice. Our treasurer is here to vouch for that, and then we would be reimbursed in August or September, depending on when it was approved for the reimbursement portion of it.
So you paid the $10,000 up
We
front?
paid all up front
Okay, the contract was in your name.
Yep.
You guys signed it, you paid the $10,000 up front.
in the past,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, well,
Or whatever the price was at the time.
okay, okay, all right,
It's
okay.
been going up every year.
Okay, I mean, when I see the bills, I see 5,000 and 5,000, so,
Right.
okay.
And another issue with the contract, that as it existed for years historically, there was virtually no provision for an event of weather-related situation, right? There was no language.
No, that's not correct either. There's always
It is correct, because we had very detailed conversations with the fireworks vendor about this.
right. You
and-
did, but our contracts did in the past. We have actually rescheduled it in the past, but you can continue.
And what language was existing in the contract to that regard? Or was it just some verbal conversation you had with the
We had
vendor?
rescheduling agreements. We've had emails also in the past, depending on what years and stuff like
Okay,
that.
and I didn't mean to.
Emails, not contract language.
Yeah, I didn't want to get this deep into it, but just wanted to get an understanding that the timing was, we got to lock it in now. We don't know where we're going to hold it, but we need to lock it in, and that was the reason for doing that.
Okay, so
Well, I
I'm going to
think
ask a
that's fine.
question.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to ask a question. So how could the township sign the contract if the contract was for them to sign? I'm just asking. How could we sign the contract if it was their contract?
On the attachment, man, there was a, they did end up adding the township's name to it also as a party too
Okay,
in this aspect.
okay.
And
All right, I'm
ultimately,
just asking.
yeah, the question before us ultimately isn't going to be about contracts and this and that. It's ultimately will be what is the best place for it. And that is, and obviously you've given your opinions and, you
We've
know.
given our opinions, and yes, I think you're correct, is where and who's going to do it, because for the last, like I said, 40-some years, Lingelstown Fire Company has done it, and if it's going to move and Parks and Rec and the township want to take it over, that's your prerogative, but again, from our perspective, it's another event that's being taken from a township community-based organization that's been supporting this township and the residents for over 40 years, so it's a decision that needs to be made, yes.
I have a couple of questions. Mr. DeSanto, based on the fact that this property was sold to the township at below market value, I assume, can't imagine that park being worth $3,000.
Yeah.
Would you consider, if I said that the township was not being honorable in the terms, in the, you know, you said you had 4 days of being able to, so is the township acting in bad faith, in your opinion, in the fire company's opinion, if we were to move the event?
If the event was to be moved, we don't believe it would be in the best interest of the community. I don't want to believe or say here and now that there is ill intent on behalf of certain members to move this.
I'm not saying ill intent, I'm just saying that the spirit of the contract was, you guys were gonna have 4 events there at Coons Park annually, and one of those events was the fireworks. We were doing the fireworks in 55, right?
We were doing the carnival back then, and then we started doing the fireworks back in the
So
80s.
if you won't say it, I'll say it. It at least seems to me that the spirit of the contract was that we were going to support the 4 events you had annually, and one of those would be fireworks.
That's
Okay?
the spirit of the
The
contract.
second thing I would ask is that, and you've not said this, but it occurs to me that if you have exclusive use of the park for 4 different events, and anyone, would decide to move the fireworks event to some other location, George Park or somewhere else, it would still be within the purview of the fire company to decide to have their own fireworks event at Coons Park on the day that it normally is held, because you have that right according to the contract.
That's true.
Is that assumption correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm not saying you would do it, but you could do it, right?
Correct, we could.
Okay. It would seem to me we wouldn't want to have 2 different fireworks events at 2 different locations simultaneously or one day from one another. That's just my opinion, so. I thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
What are the other 2 events that you hold?
We haven't executed our full 4 days for several years. In the years past, up to about 5 years ago, we used to hold at the park, we would do a softball tournament amongst the fire companies, and the police department sometimes participated. And then we would shut the park down the day leading towards the fireworks, and we'd host that softball tournament, and then we'd do setup for the fireworks on the morning of the 3rd, then a picnic for the fire company members, as well as other members from Colonial Park, Paxtonia, West Hanover, where they would attend, all kind of a celebration of the holiday. And then years before that, we would do the carnival, which is what took up the most of the 4 days event that was being done at Coons Park. But that has been retired for several years now at this point. But
Why is that?
it's a lot of work for a lot of volunteers to run a carnival, and it's not very profitable, unfortunately, on the fundraising side. So
Okay.
And a big liability. I think that's why Holy Name stopped
up
theirs.
theirs as well.
Stopped theirs
Yeah,
also.
Fortunately.
Hey, we all hung, well, you're too young, but us older people, we hung out at the carnival. That was the place to go for the week. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, and have a good
Okay,
evening.
and thank you guys for attending. Appreciate it. Anybody else under public comment? Yes, Mr. Miller. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Okay.
William Miller, 4311 Crestview Road. I'll try to keep it brief. During these last couple of snows, I've decided I am going to send them over to Nick. Same property for 3 years. It's on the northwest corner of House and Devonshire. 3 years.
I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, just one second. Sir, who was sitting there on the end, you left your water bottle?
I'm sorry it was off.
And this particular residence, you know, I drive around and, you know, I am a sidewalk advocate, but people aren't shoveling. I find it unbelievable that the same property, but I looked it up, it's a rental. So that should probably go to Mr. Garrett. On the other side, it was the first time in 3 years they shoveled theirs, where the blown out sign is on the northeast corner. And I'm going to mention that's a sign that probably should come down. It's jagged metal now and all kinds of things. The whole corner, where from down there at where Best Buy is, both of those drugstores on each side, down to the tire mart, that whole section, nobody dropped a shovel. And I've told people, Jim Seidler, I was remiss. I'm going to take pictures of all the footprints to show the usage, and also usage in areas where there are no sidewalks to show a need. Another area that's undone is the sidewalk section from Orchard as you go to the apartments there, and then as you head down to East. From the apartments back to Orchard, that property is owned by PennDOT. I have tried repeatedly to have PennDOT maintain their sidewalk. There's no curb cuts, not ADA compliant, and there's trip hazards. It's upheaved. There's a talus slope of, you know, remember the talus slope, the rocks come down. The sidewalk's in disrepair, but just because it's PennDOT, I don't know how they can refuse not to maintain their sidewalk or to broker a deal with the apartments or somebody else to simply get it done. What else in here?
If I can, Mr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
So Mr. Garrett is our codes inspector.
Absolutely,
We
yes.
don't have anybody that's riding around looking for this. Okay.
No.
So and they do have 24 hours, so if you could contact him.
I will.
And then, you know, he could then go out, because the only way we know if there are issues is if somebody contacts us. We don't have that extra person that's riding around the 220 miles.
And I don't want to ride around either and say, hey, these guys don't do their, they do
Yeah.
sidewalks.
Yeah.
But, to me, I'm focusing on areas near schools. Mm-hmm. And I think they should be held,
Right.
I don't know, we could put things out on all of our newsletters, our emails, our blurbs. By the way, commercial and residential owners, please make sure this is your, if you keep putting out little reminders, it almost becomes subliminal, and they're going to remember it perhaps. But I think for a landlord not to, and I'd be up at 4 or 5 in the morning shoveling. I mean, you got to get out there and do it. There's a lot of liability to that if somebody falls. The only other item, I don't know who, I haven't met the gentleman that runs your GIS. I'm looking for a brief map of of St. Thomas from one end to the other, where the lampposts are that are usually in some disrepair. And so rather than get out and look at the little plate, I wanted to make a map. And I'd like to put it on something that maybe we could, for posterity, we could have our own map. So if one's out, hey, it's down here by Minuto, or it's down here, by the coffee roaster, we can simply look, there's the roaster, this is the poll number. And then, again, I found that some of them aren't getting fixed real quick, and I'm sort of wondering what that problem is, too.
Have you contacted PP&L?
Well, I've called in some. And as I drove around again lately, and I brought it up, I have never seen so many PPL type lights on. If you go around, they're on everywhere. And they also don't follow the township, in my opinion, their ordinance for downlit. They're splaying light out left and right, especially when you come up there to that new car wash across from the battery warehouse. Trying to
Mr.
look
Car
and see
Wash.
what you're doing. I'm out there. I was salting. It's snowing or whatever. And they're just not following, I don't know where they got those. They're junk, because so many of them don't work. So I've decided I'm going to make a little list of those. And I think, I don't know, we could get a bigger list that all the officers drive around, but they got other things to do than write down poll numbers. But I still think it's an issue. as to, and we did discuss it, and I can't recall all the details from Mr. Miller, as to how we're paying for all those. Do we pay a flat 12-hour on, 12-hour off rate? Was that it? Or are we paying power? Depends how it's set up, I think, and I don't really know.
There is a power component, but it's like 0.5% of the billing cost. It's more of a flat charge for its existence.
So then we have a lot of lights that we're getting a deal, we're getting a big deal, or we're getting no deal, because I guess it balances out with the ones that are off and the ones that are on. But still, and I'll let go with this, in Linglestown, as nice as the town looks with all those posts, it'd be nice to have them fixed, and we have to probably look into why PPL doesn't get out there quicker, unless they're simply not being reported.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. They might not be, being reported,
Correct.
so you just have to keep after them.
And it's sad, but on the north side of the street, and as you head out of Linglestown, as you head east, those sidewalks there are never touched. A lot of those are never touched either. I don't know why they wouldn't be cleaned. A lot of money went into that, and you would think you had a brand new sidewalk. It's not new, 10 years, but still, you could keep them clean. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
the lamp posts that you're talking about, are they identified with a number on them?
They have a PPL poll number. That's how I've got other stuff fixed. But it's just that, you have to stop, park, get out, roam around. And I'm like, oh, man. So I thought, well, maybe just park one day and take a walk and record all the poll numbers. And then I'd like to see them, again, on a nice map. I'm a visual guy, so I can look at the map. These three need fixed. You call them in quick and you're done. They have they have a number for that at PPL. Okay. They're usually pretty good about it, but lately I don't know. But we'll give it a shot.
Thank you. Anybody else under public comment? Okay. Chairman and board members. Board members, does anybody have any comments? Mr. McCormick?
No.
Judge, Ms. Thompson?
I have my survey that I would like to do on 2-4. A number of you all have been here before when I've taken this survey. This regards the Hodges Heights compost survey. The question is, how many people would be happy to have a landfill compost site in their residential community? Please give me a show of hands. All right. I'm seeing 0 hands. Thank you, Chairman.
Is that it? Mm-hmm. Okay. I just want to report, we do have a trap, neuter, and return program, as I see Mr. Grubb sitting back there. I wanted to thank Larry Wasser. He's our volunteer here in the township who rounds up all the volunteers. Our police department does have all of the traps that you can go down, and you can sign out the traps. There's no rental fee for them. So this is starting our 5th year. In 2024, we issued 322 vouchers, and we paid for 180 vouchers. So that avoided 540 kittens were avoided. So Mr. Grubb was here when we started the TNR program. He helped with that. So the TNR program is definitely working. We do have it on the website if you would like to become a volunteer. But I did want to thank Mr. Wasser for all the years of service that he is giving us and is still giving us. We have the Citizens Police Academy, which is through the police department. That starts on February the 24th and runs through mid-May. If you're interested in signing up, it's every Monday night from 6 to 9. They do have some field trips and everything, and other than the field trips, everything else is held downstairs in the police department. And you probably think 6 to 9, but guess what? It's 6 o'clock, and before you know it, it's 9 o'clock. It's an absolute, I went through it in 2015. It is just an absolute, it's just amazing. I mean, the police tell you everything that they do. they show you. I mean, the canines are there. They have a little bit of everything. So if you are interested, we still are taking applications. And like I said, that starts on February the 24th. The past 3 days, I represented Lower Paxton Township at a PSATS seminar down in Lancaster with the executive committee. So again, I was working with 11 other individuals from all over the state. So Lower Paxton Township was represented there for 3 days. Okay, Mr.
Question.
Yes.
So at this conference that you were at, you said how many other municipalities were there?
So it's the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. So I sit on the executive committee, I got elected there, and then we have the executive board. So there is 11, with myself, there's 12 altogether.
So with the 12 that you sit with, how many are the size that we are?
We're the largest, okay? And then they have some that are over 20,000. And then they have some that are smaller. So that executive committee has a little bit of everybody. And we do collaborate, back and forth, because some of them have paid fire departments also, like we're going to be doing. We talk about all kinds of things. Even though you're big or small, you're still doing the same exact things. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. Manager's report, Brad.
I'm going to turn this one over to Mr. Miller, who has something very exciting to report.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay.
Mr. Manager. So members of the board, based on advisories we have from National Weather Service on potential snow early tomorrow, leading into potentially significant freezing rain on Wednesday evening into Thursday. We had previously had discussions with Penn Waste in regards to temporary containers for potential storm damage yard waste. So 2 temporary 40-yard open-top yard waste containers are being coordinated to be delivered to the main parking lot in Coons Park in Linglestown and at the end of Heatherfield Way in George Park in Paxtonia. These units are for storm damaged limbs and related debris only, and they're going to be present for the duration of the weather event and a short period of post-cleanup. We appreciate residents not placing any other waste in these containers. This is really a customized service arrangement we have with Penn Waste, and we don't want to lose this opportunity. So we want to make sure and focus these on just yard waste in relation to storm damage. We're hoping that we, escape this, avert it in its entirety, but in case, we will have those units placed, and certainly appreciate Mr. Bill Miller's recommendation on that earlier after we had a storm. Was it about 1.5 years ago or so? And Penn Waste is more than willing to work with us in such a unique situation. So this will be our first test run. Like I said, hopefully we don't have to test it, but it'll be there in case we need it.
Have you heard any more on, are they going to be, canceling the trash for Thursday, moving it to Friday? Because you're saying tomorrow a little bit of snow, but then the ice will come. So probably if it's bad Thursday, then they'll move it Friday to Saturday. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, at this point, there's no
Okay.
decisions or discussion. We have been given assurance that municipal partners will be part of the discussion as we progress, which will probably be some late night calls and emails just to see where conditions are lying.
Okay, because I'm just concerned if Friday gets canceled and then Saturday, from what I'm reading, they're calling for freezing rain again. If there's anything we can do with Penn Waste that they could maybe pick up those Friday people Monday or Tuesday instead of them, because we had talked about that a couple weeks ago, instead of them waiting for 2 weeks.
We continue to work with them on logistics to help our Friday customers since they have a tougher issue with regards to Saturday concerns, and certainly the weather is questionable at best at this point, so we'll keep an eye on things and keep communication with the team.
Okay.
So how are the residents going to find out about these? Because we have such a communication issue with getting information out to the residents. How are they going to find out about these 2 locations?
There will be promoted social media posts in relation to the placements, and it will be placed up on the website.
Okay. And so the last time we met, I believe it was the time that we had the gentleman from Forest Hills here complaining about his trash pickup being postponed?
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. But this issue is not going to address his problem.
No, this was specific for just coordinating for storm damage because folks don't have access in the off-season for yard waste disposal
Okay.
for an emergency basis.
And that's what I was referring to, his problem, if his trash is canceled on Friday due to the weather, and if they are calling for bad weather on Saturday, if he doesn't get picked up again, is there anything we can do that he doesn't have to wait the 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Right.
And we've continued those discussions with Penn Waste directly. Those conversations are still ongoing as they work operationally to give us some alternatives to discuss.
Okay, and then the gentleman that came and had the issue with the diapers?
Yeah, that was him.
No, there was the elderly gentleman from Forest Hills.
Okay, I thought
And then
the
there
other
was
guy
the
was
younger
from-
man.
I thought he
with-
was from Forest Hills too, okay.
Well, he might have been from
Okay.
Forest Hills, but I know he had an issue with his diapers building up.
And that's why I
We-
said if they could maybe make arrangements for earlier in the week, that they didn't have to wait for 2 weeks. Yeah. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I believe, I know the township sends out something on their.
Okay, you'll have to come to the,
Oh, geez.
yeah.
As I recall, the township puts out some information on their page, on their links, but I also called down to Penn Waste. I get some kind of thing. I mean, I don't know what I signed up for, but they send out a blurb.
Yeah, we get an email, we signed up for email, so.
Right, correct.
yeah.
And a lot of people aren't doing the techno thing, but it does work. And so at this point, everybody tells, well, if you don't sign up, it's your own fault. And it kind of is. So we have to be proactive there. And we did mention, like with these HOAs, and to the gentleman who was here with the diapers, that if they could possibly, these HOAs could be schmoozed a little bit into, hey, look, we got ice here 2 days in a row. Let them keep their cans out. They have to work with the township, and they also have to work with the homeowner and the waste man and the waste company to make this happen. I mean, you just can't keep them in your garage, and I do agree with him. That was pretty amazing that you can't even keep a can outside, or you can't keep it under your porch. So we're all in it together, I guess.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay. No new business, subdivision and land development. We have action to approve a declaration of previously subdivided lots, Plan 25-01. Mrs. Zerby.
Yes, good evening. Arthur and Terry Rhodes have submitted a declaration of previously consolidated lots. The current properties of the Rhodes are known as 903, 905, and 907 North Mountain Road. These lots were part of the CB Cares addition to Linglestown Plan that was recorded in Dauphin County Recorder of Deeds on 2/24 of 1975. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes own all 3 properties and are interested in consolidating to construct a house for an aging parent on the newly combined lot. The plot plan attached the plot plan shows the 3 lots to be combined along North Mountain Road, outlined in red. The current residence of the Rhodes is outlined in blue. The lots are created in the commercial neighborhood district, and the owners received a special exception to construct a single-family home within the district at the 9/26/2024 zoning hearing board meeting. The lots need to be combined to meet the dimensional requirements for the improvements. The Rhodes were here earlier tonight, but they had to leave for an unforeseen circumstance.
Oh, okay, I
They have
met
been
them.
here previously, haven't they?
They were not here. They were at zoning hearing board.
Okay. All right.
Okay, does the board have any questions? I was out there on Sunday, this is a no-brainer, it's just the 3 lots that they're gonna bring together, so.
Right.
And they got the conditional use through
Yep,
the
they got a
zoning-
special
yeah.
exception.
A special exception,
Yes.
excuse me, yeah, yeah. Any questions?
Why did they need a special exception?
Because you can't construct a single-family residence in that zoning district without a special exception.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
Oh,
one
go ahead,
other
go ahead.
question. Is a special exception something different than a variance?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
okay, we good? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve a declaration of previously subdivided lots, Plan 25-01?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. We're on to the improvement guarantees, and hopefully I'll be able to. Ah, it worked. Okay. We have Parkway Farms Phase 1, F&M Trust, Memorial I, CDJR, and Grove Road. Are there any questions about any of the improvement guarantees?
I do have a question about the Memorial Eye Institute Improvement Guarantee. Based on my discussion with Mr. Miller, this has been extended and extended and extended, and I believe we're in our 13th year. And we have a letter from Memorial Eye Institute that's, what, about a week old?
It was in our packet last Friday.
It was
Yes.
it's in our packet, and my feeling is that I don't want to approve this extension. I really want them to go ahead and put the sidewalks in. One of the statements in the letter said that there are no essentially there are no sidewalks in that area, and so I was over there today on my on a tour of different areas of the township, and that's not true. There are sidewalks in that area, and it sounds like from the letter that the author is claiming that because there are no sidewalks, I don't have any, my sidewalk is just going to be in a vacuum, a sidewalk going nowhere. But if he would go ahead and put that sidewalk in, it would eventually, I believe, be connected up with some of the other sidewalks that are there that can be installed. And the complaint about it's going to be expensive, well, he's had 13 years to do it, and over 13 years, prices have gone up. I paid $4.33 for eggs today. And so prices have gone up for different reasons. So I don't want to give the extension on this one.
Yeah, this has been very contentious with me for the past 12 years sitting here, because to the west of him, there are sidewalks. And then to the east, there's a property where there is no sidewalks, but beyond that property, there is a sidewalk. I'm a big advocate of connecting everything. So if you did read the memo, it said a year extension, but then it also said to revisit in 6 months. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Zerby to explain what was in the memo.
The memo is for a request for the 1-year extension. However, in conversations with the owner, 41 Holding, and 41 Holdings engineer, they are requesting the 1-year extension, but that should anything come in the next few months with several of the options that are happening, which could promote pedestrian walking in that area, that they would be happy to revisit this and install the sidewalk.
Okay. So, go ahead.
What's prevented them from installing the sidewalk for the last 13 years?
Because there's no sidewalk to the east, so their feeling is that if there's an installation of that sidewalk, you're encouraging people to walk on that sidewalk, end up on a grass plot, which will force them out onto a state route.
Did you say, Amanda, that there might be some developments over the year?
Well, there's the Route 39 corridor study,
Okay.
and last week we did the active transportation study. So there are options that are in the works now to try to get more pedestrian walking there. But right now, there's a sidewalk on the property there's a property with sidewalk on the west, the property to the east does not have sidewalk. So
Amanda, how long, because I was out there Sunday also, how long has that property been vacant to the east?
I'm not sure. It's been for sale, I want to say for 10 years.
I know it's been a long time that that no one's been living there.
And is there, because you had noted in the memo, for the township to build sidewalks, it's a lot more expensive. Is there some expectation that at some point township will be filling in the gaps, or?
No. So what we want to do is allow the owner to install that sidewalk. So next year, in 6 months from now, I think the board revisits that sidewalk, kind of a waiver. It's not a waiver. He was never given a waiver for the sidewalk on Lingelstown Road, but it has been pushed each year. So I think in 6 months, you revisit that sidewalk and you ask that at that time the sidewalk be installed. If you wait until next year, you're going to be in the same position that you are now. He can't install the sidewalk within the next 2-3 months because of the weather conditions, and you can't install sidewalks. So I think to give them 6 months to kind of prepare to install the sidewalk is fair, but that's for the board.
Haven't we already given them 12 years?
The board has given them 12 years, yes. We've extended it.
You're saying there's a potential for Route 39 study. Do we expect that to come to a head?
Definitely not in 6 months, most likely not in a year.
Yeah.
Who's doing the Route 39 study?
That's a state study.
Oh, okay. For what purpose?
The whole corridor, it's like a regional
Yeah, they want to do the
transportation
bike.
site, just
Yeah.
the whole corridor, up, back and forth, and
They're looking for the bike, the bike lanes and
Oh,
to
okay.
extending.
Okay, we
and-
talked,
yeah.
okay, we talked
Yeah.
about
so there was that in the pedestrian plan we talked about last meeting.
Okay.
Is there a real reason, a concrete reason, to either delay or not delay? I've always agreed with the notion that a sidewalk to nowhere essentially is pretty worthless. I also like sidewalks, and we're supposed to be trying to move a little bit closer to a walkable community. I don't know that area is one that we're going to see a lot of pedestrian traffic.
Well, they're walking. And I've been very boisterous about this. The dentist office to the west was made to put sidewalk in across Lingelstown Road, down Lingelstown Road, and up Dover to connect there to the Forest Hills. I just was never supported by anybody to connect, to have him put this in. So I have been very boisterous about this. If you're telling me in 6 months, because, now we're calling for freezing rain, February, March, April. If you're telling me in 6 months we revisit it and he must put it in, then I'm okay with it. But if it's a revisit and we go, well, we can wait another 6 months. So that's my question.
But that can come back.
Yeah.
Bring it back
Yeah.
to us.
If it comes in 6 months, can we make him put it in 6 months?
The board can make a motion to require it, yes.
Okay. Can we make that motion tonight that he would need to put that in 6 months?
That's more of a legal question, I think.
That be 6 months from 6 months, or?
No, 6 months from tonight.
6 months from,
Yeah.
6 months from February 4th, which is when the
February.
improvement guarantee would expire.
So that would be August. Did you want to see if you could get in touch with Morgan on that?
Wait,
I would just like to know, can we make that motion tonight to require that in 6 months that must be put in? That's just my
Well-
question.
what if we just denied the improvement guarantee, wouldn't that do the same thing?
If you deny the year extension, it forces his hand to to install the sidewalk, or we can pull the improvement guarantee.
Yeah, I
But then
mean,
the township holds $45,543 in an escrow for a project that's going to cost between $140,000 and $180,000.
He doesn't have enough money in the escrow if he would refuse to do
Required
it.
to add more money to the escrow, though, wouldn't he, Mr. Miller?
In relation to that, no, that the escrow would be responsible for him doing the work, not us doing the work.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And 50,000 compared to 145,000, it's a big difference.
Yes, you want the developer to install the
Right,
sidewalk.
yeah.
I've asked Morgan the question. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's essentially been agreed to by the owner that they will do it within 1 year, and that they are willing to do it within 6 months if the board so chooses.
Yes.
I would just recommend to the board that you adopt tonight staff's recommendation that you extend it by 1 year, with the proviso that the owners have already agreed to do it within 6 months.
And I can talk to the owner, the land development company tomorrow, and tell them that the board's wish is that you granted the year extension. He'll get an agreement for a year, but in that agreement, I'll see if Morgan can check the language, but in that agreement to extend it a year, we can.
She did say yes. You can do 6 months if you want to as well.
So there could be a motion tonight that he would have to put the sidewalk in 6 months. Okay.
so we would approve the improvement guarantee with that,
For 6 months,
For
from
6 months.
February 4th.
6 months, to February 4th.
Takes us to August.
August 4th, yeah.
Okay.
February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, August 4th.
So we'll have a sidewalk over there at the end of 25.
Well, he would have 6 months to put it in, so it would have to be done by August the 4th. Am I right?
The agreement would be extended for 6 months, so it would have to be in place and inspected prior to that date.
Okay. Okay. And hopefully, like I said, there is a vacant house beside it, but then there is a sidewalk to the east of that one also. And then I know there's not going to be anything there in that little area, where sheets, there's a little bit of an area there. But I think as many sidewalks Bill Horning and I always had this issue, as many sidewalks as we can connect, because people are walking. People are walking everywhere, and Lingelstown is a main, that's a main road. There's not a big berm there, so I just, and maybe the house beside it will sell. Will
Should
sell
we
in the meantime.
break that one out from the improvement guarantee?
I think we should. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, can I have a motion to approve these improvement guarantees? Parkway Farm Phase 1, F&M Trust, CDJR, and Grove, the Grove Road. Yeah, Grove Road. Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now I'm going to need a motion from Memorial Eye that from February the 4th, they have 6 months to put the sidewalk in with their improvement guarantee, and that would take them till August the 4th
I guess we say we approve the extension
with
for Memorial Eye with the condition that a sidewalk is installed 6 months from today,
today.
at the latest.
Okay. Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate it. Okay. Payment of bills. Laura Paxton Township Authority. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I make the motion to pay the bills according to the second-class Township Code, Article 7, Township Treasurer, Section 3, pay out all monies of the township only on the direction by the Board of Supervisors. I need a second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have any announcements from the board? Any announcements? Mr. Gutschall, Mr. Miller? Anything from the public? Okay. With that said, we will be here next Tuesday, and that will be a workshop meeting, and that'll be at 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending.